Welcome to Ink and Fitness. For those who are new to my channel, my name is Anthony. I am someone who went from skinny to fit, and these videos are purely educational. So this way, if you are also someone who's on the thin, the skinny side, you can take what you're learning inside of these videos, apply them, be consistent with them above all, and see your own results. In terms of today's video topic, we're going to be talking about the biggest mistakes that I've personally made from going thin to jacked. So this way, if you are someone who's on the thinner side of things, then you can take what you're learning from this video particularly, follow it step by step, and get your own results, right? As long as you're being consistent with everything. So let's jump right into things for today, where I'm going to be showing you some pictures first. Pictures of me specifically, because this is what I used to look like for making the mistakes that I'm going to share with you today in this video. So these mistakes kept me looking like this for years on end, specifically for a better part of 3 years, honestly. 3 to 4 years. I'd say more so 3 years. As you can see, I made some progress, right? Some progress, but it's not the progress that I would have liked to have seen for as much time that I was putting inside of the gym, right? Because I thought back then that more was better, but in reality, less is more when it comes to training, specifically speaking. So the mistakes that I will share with you guys ended with me looking like this for a few years, more than I should have. Really delaying my own progress just because I wasn't doing things the right way. I wasn't being consistent with the things I should have been consistent with. And most importantly, I was just lying to myself, right? I was thinking and I was saying that I was doing things to the T, optimally, having things dialed in. But in reality, things were not dialed in. I was not doing things to the most efficient nor effective way. And I was just kind of running in circles, just kind of chasing my own tail and wondering why the fuck I'm not gaining any weight, gaining any muscle, and why do I still look like some skinny kid, right? So these mistakes had me looking like this for years. It even cost me almost a good solid year off of the gym. And this was post past pictures that you guys seen. So this was before the surgery. The pictures that you saw on the last slide, were before the surgery, and this was me after almost, I guess, 8 months of not going to the gym. So I reverted back to looking pretty skinny. I mean, the leanness is definitely there. I mean, look at the look at the V right there. That's crazy in itself. Now that I'm taking a look at this, but it cost me a whole year, almost a whole year off of the gym. I should have fixed that title right there on that slide. And the reason that I did is because one of the mistakes that I've made, and I don't want to get too into the mistakes without getting into the next slide because that's where everything starts. But spoiler alert, one of the mistakes that I made back then is just ego lifting. I would ego lift at times. I would lift weights that I had no business in lifting, and I was, essentially just struggling with weight that I should not have been lifting. I was swinging the weights around. I was, for dumbbell press, incline press, I was lifting my ass up off of the bench just to get the dumbbells up in the air, or to get the full contraction up. Stuff like that, right? That does not help the cause. And because of me exerting myself so much with heavy weight that I should not have been lifting, it caused me to get hernias. And because of hernias, I needed to get them removed because I was feeling a lot of pain down in my testicular area, because that's what happens when you have hernias. At least in some cases, not everyone's case, but at least in my case, that's what happened. And so I needed to get them removed unless I wanted to keep feeling testicular pain every now and then, right? It wasn't something that was 24/7, but it was an every now kind of thing, especially when I was really exerting myself a lot. So because of that, I was like, I'm just going to get these removed. I don't want to go through this. And, I ended up getting them removed. And I wish I could say that I'm 100% better now. But I am for the most part. I do have hernias again, but they're so small that I don't have to consider to get them removed until, later down the road, right? So knock on wood that I won't have to get them removed again for another few years, right? We'll see what happens though. But because of that, I ended up taking almost a whole year, off of the gym. Not a few years, what the hell? Almost a whole year off of the gym. And so let's get straight into the mistakes for today, so that way you guys know what to avoid doing, and you guys know exactly what you should be doing So number one is priorities. In the beginning of my fitness journey, to be honest with you, I got okay results. It was nothing crazy at all, right? I'm like you guys seen on the very first, or not the first slide, not the first slide. Sorry, the second slide. So after the title slide, the pictures, the three pictures that I showed you guys. As you can see, there were okay results. It wasn't anything magical, nothing crazy, right? Because there's some natural lifters that work out for 5 years straight, and they do the right things, are consistent with everything, and they get incredible results. They look incredible, right? I just got results, okay results, because I was doing the incorrect things, and most importantly, I was not being consistent, right? And this is why I made this slide titled priorities, because I had my priorities all out of whack when it came to my own fitness goals, because I did not give a shit as much as I should have about my own fitness goals. The results I did get, though, to be honest, it was enough for me to feel confident. This newfound confidence caused me to have the confidence to speak to girls, and I eventually ended up in my very first relationship. And when I ended up being in that relationship, I put my fitness goals last, and I would put this girl first, right? And in my opinion, excuse me, this should never be the case with whatever goals that you have. You should never put your partner, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, whatever, right, in first place or in this high up pedestal, opposed to your goals, right? Because that's not fair to yourself. You have goals, you have things you want to complete, to achieve, so you need to make time for it. I'm not saying to abandon your boyfriend or girlfriend or break up with them just to see the results you want to see inside of the gym. But what I am saying, though, is to prioritize these goals that you have first, and then use whatever time you have left over to spend with your boyfriend, your girlfriend, your partner, whatever, right? Or do whatever else you want. You have 24 hours in a fucking day. You don't have to spend the full 24 hours with your partner. If anything, a good healthy space is fucking amazing, and you should implement it. But all that to say is that if your goals matter to you, because back then it didn't really matter to me, right? I was too in love. I was too blinded, and I'm not saying this because I regret falling in love, right, for the very first time. Like, no, we all remember our first love, our first relationship. We are so lost. We lose ourselves in the process. We ignore our other responsibilities. At least some of us do, right? When we get into that kind of emotional state of feeling in love, right, infatuated with this person, all these different kind of emotions and feelings. So, no matter if you're in a relationship, if you're busy with work, or if you have kids, if your goals matter to you, you will make the time for it. You will make the time for it. It does not matter if you're the busiest person in the world. If it's something that matters to you, if it's something that you truly give a shit about, then you will make fucking time for it. If you're hearing me say this right now and you're triggered in some sort of way and you're starting to make excuses as to why you can't make fitness a priority for yourself, then you should probably leave the fucking video in itself, because it just shows that fitness is not a priority for you. And that's okay. And that's not something you should beat yourself up about. But what you should beat yourself up about is that you're lying to your face and you're lying to yourself. And you should not lie to yourself. You need to be brutally honest with yourself. If fitness is not a priority for you, that is completely okay. But you have to admit that to yourself first, right? Once you admit that to yourself, you can figure out why it's not a priority for you. And then maybe down the road it will be a priority for you once you get your other shit figured out, right? Whatever it is. But you just can't lie to yourself, and you can't lie to others and say, I've done all these different kind of things in fitness, but I'm not seeing the results. When really you've done little to nothing, and you're not being consistent with anything, and your training, your eating, and your rest and recovery is dog shit. So don't lie to yourself. All right, number 2, training. The actual meat and potatoes. So the way I used to train back then was terrible. Dog shit. Dog water. I would do 4 sets by 12 reps on every exercise, I would pick a super light weight at times that didn't even challenge me, because I would just really over prioritize form at times. Right? And so it got so bad to the point where I was picking super lightweight and I wasn't even exerting myself, right? I didn't even feel challenged at all whatsoever. I just did my 4 sets, 12 reps, went through the motions, kind of, right? I was still kind of, obviously keeping my form in check and whatnot, but still, it wasn't anything that was, getting me to break a sweat or feeling fatigued or feeling, like I was actually putting in the work. It was something I was just, half-assed, something that wasn't really challenging at all whatsoever, and overall something that wasn't even going to cause me muscle growth. So I would do that at times. Sometimes I would ego lift, much like what I mentioned to you guys a little bit ago, because after, doing super low weight for a while, I was like, I'm not making any progress. So let's fucking try to go to the hard left, right? The extreme hard, not left, I mean right of the spectrum, right? So the far left side is low weight, and really just over prioritizing your form, while the right side is just ego lifting and doing heavy ass weight that you shouldn't even be doing in the first place. I would do rest times of 60 to 90 seconds. I would only train legs once per week and avoided training calves, which is the biggest and dumbest mistake of them all that I personally have made. And as far as training legs only once per week, sometimes I would not even train them at all. I would train them 0 times per week. I was super inconsistent with my leg training, and now, presently, I'm having to pay the motherfucking price for that. I'm having to pay catch up with my legs because my upper body looks good, right? Looks decent, but my lower body looks like shit, and it has to catch up, right? It needs to catch up to my upper body, and so because of that, I'm having to pay catch up, right? I'm having to play catch up. I'm having to work twice as hard now to get the legs up, which is okay. It was my own stupid, fault, mistake, right? You live and you learn. Presently now have how I train, and now what has delivered me the most results is I only do 2 sets of 6 to 8 reps, 6 to 8 reps of a moderate weight where I can control the movement of that exercise and still exert myself, right? And I follow a nice little counting scheme when it comes to controlling my form of 3-1 explode, right? Because before, I would do 10-second long negatives. And that's crazy because doing 10-second long negatives is not hypertrophic at all whatsoever. It's not going to deliver more muscle growth to you. So for those that are also presently doing that mistake that I've made in the past of over prioritizing your form and just doing these insanely long negatives, don't do them because they're not beneficial at all whatsoever. What's beneficial is doing 3 to 4 second long negatives, so the way down of the portion, controlling that part of the movement. And so that's where the 3 part comes within the 3-1 explode counting scheme that I just mentioned to you all. So you do the negative for 3 seconds. The 1 second within that counting scheme is that at the stretch portion, at the bottom portion of that movement, you hold it there for 1 second. You pause for 1 second and then explode. The explode part of the counting scheme means you explode up. And that's 1 full rep right there. So that's kind of the counting scheme that I have in my head as I'm going through each single one of my reps, and it honestly makes each single rep that I do count, and I really, really exert myself, and I end up hitting failure within 6 to 8 reps. And of course, I'm not neglecting progressive overload at all whatsoever. I'm implementing that as well. And so whenever I reach the top of the rep range, so 8 reps, that's when I increase the weight by 2.5 to 5 pounds of that given exercise. So long as I have performed that exercise with that given weight for both of the sets with perfect form, perfect technique, and have reached the top of the rep range. Right? And that's the only reason where I would gradually increase the weight. And I would just repeat that process over and over and over again. So I implement progressive overload, much like what I just discussed. I rest for 3 minutes since I'm exerting myself, training with high intensity. So 3-minute long rest times is really more so for isolation movements. If you are truly training with intensity, then you need to rest as much as you can. 3 minutes is the average. I feel like that's a sweet spot, at least for isolation movements. So bicep curls, tricep extensions, lateral raises, those sort of movements, where only one muscle group is being worked. While compound movements like bench press, squats, deadlifts will require around 5 minutes, a little bit more, 5 minutes. Because if you're training with intensity, then keep in mind, if you want to keep up the same intensity you performed for the first set, then you need to rest as much as you can. So 3 minutes, 3 to 5 minutes long, so that way you can carry the same intensity as you did in the first set, but for your second set, right? So because you want to be consistent with the intensity that you're doing. You just don't want to do a super intense set number 1, and then set number 2 is just, not good at all whatsoever. It's just ass. And then lastly, I now train legs twice per week, just like any other muscle group. All right, number three, nutrition. This is for my thin and skinny people. I mean, this whole thing is for my thin and skinny people, but nutrition specifically is a big. I feel like it's talked about a lot within skinny guys. You know, skinny and thin guys, because some of them don't even track their shit. Not literally. I mean, what I mean is they don't. Some of them don't track their food intake, the important stuff that they need to track to see what kind of things they need to troubleshoot within their eating, so that way they can actually start gaining weight. So personally, for me, I was half-assing tracking my calories. I would always blame my fast metabolism for keeping me skinny because I was not tracking my calories, my macro intake appropriately or as efficiently or as consistently as I know I could have been. I would not weigh myself once per week, so I had no idea if I was even gaining weight. I just really relied off how I looked in the mirror. I wasn't eating at a surplus at all whatsoever because I was not tracking consistently. So I had no idea how much I was eating. I just thought that I was eating enough because I was eating 6 plates of food a day, right? And I was like, oh, this looks like moderately, or this looks like a lot of food, but that was just my assumptions. A new beginner, a newbie in the gym, I don't give a shit. I really don't give a fuck. I hate the phrase, I hate the fucking phrase, skinny guys just need to pick up the fork. No, you don't. You need to track what you're eating for at least a few months. Like 3 to 4 months is more than enough that you need. So that way you can actually visually see how much of something you are eating. Because if you are new to the gym, new to this whole muscle gaining environment, you are not going to know what the fuck, how much of something is in something. And so if guys say, or just anyone say, you just need to pick up the fork and eat more, bro. Like, no, that does not help you guys at all whatsoever because you do not know how much of something is in something visually. You do not have the idea of how much of something is in something because you are new to this whole thing. So if you wanted to get to the point where you can just pick up the fork and eat, then fucking weigh your food out for 3 to 4 months straight, be consistent with it, because then your eyeballs and your head will calculate how much of something is in something, right? You will actually know how many grams of protein are in 4 ounces of chicken breast, right? You will actually know how many grams of protein are inside 200 grams of carbs. Did I say protein? I meant grams of carbs. What the fuck? You will know how much grams of carbs are inside 100 or 200 grams of rice, white rice, excuse me. That's what I meant to say right there. See, the passion makes me lose my mind. But I hope that's helpful for you guys because it's like, it annoys the hell out of me when I hear guys say that. Like, honestly, it's just so annoying. Because that's terrible advice for new guys who are trying to gain weight. Because you really do have to know how much of something is inside of something. Because if you're just kind of like eating a lot, picking up the fork per se, right, and you're still not gaining any weight, that just discourages the hell out of you, right? And it's because of the simple fact of you don't know how much of something is inside the particular meal that you're eating. Especially calories, right? Especially calories, not only your macros, calories. So, that's my little rant about that. I wouldn't weigh myself. I wasn't eating at a surplus. I was contemplating on going on a dirty bulk. I wasn't hitting my daily protein goals. That's worded weirdly, but I wasn't hitting my daily protein goals at all as well, or I was just being inconsistent with it. And now, fast forward to now, whenever I do go on my bulking phases, I make an effort to track my calories. Even now, I don't really track as much just because I know how much of something is in something because I've tracked my calories for so long in the past, right? So you see what I'm getting at? Like, you need to track your shit for a little bit so that way you can, if you don't want to track it anymore, because I know people feel some type of way about tracking their calories, right? Which is completely fine. But if you want to know how much of something is in something, then visually you need to do it through tracking, right? Through doing that first. So whenever I do bulk, I make an effort to track my calories if I feel like I need to. I track my weight once per week to ensure I'm making progress. I now go on slight caloric surpluses of 300 to 500 calories, so I do lean bulk as opposed to like a dirty bulk or anything else that's out there, but it's really just a dirty bulk and lean bulk that's out there. So I opt in for a lean bulk just because it's the most, efficient way to bulk up and gain muscle, right? Sure, it might be a little bit slower, but at least you won't gain this mass amount of fat that you don't need. And I hit my protein daily goal consistently, which is the biggest thing. And then number 4, we have rest. Before, I would not take my sleeping seriously. When I was a kid back then, when I was a teenager, I would get 4 hours of sleep a night, and I would still have the energy of a fucking bull the next day. I'm sure a lot of you guys can resonate with that. So this is not good for muscle growth, because the true muscle growth happens when you sleep, right? That's when your body starts to repair, recover itself, and most importantly, this is where you recharge your own batteries, since you are training with a lot of intensity, so that way you can carry the same intensity for the next workout ahead, right? The next training session ahead. So now I make an effort to get 7 hours or more worth of sleep. If I struggle with sleep, at times I will take melatonin every now and then. Nothing, too crazy, because I also don't want my body to be dependent on melatonin, because our body naturally produces, I think it's like 2 to 3 grams of melatonin a night. So imagine if you take 10 milligrams or even 5 milligrams consistently for weeks on end, right? And if you try to wean off of it, and then you're gonna feel like a crackhead, right? Because you can't fall asleep without the melatonin. Because that's how I felt like. Because I took melatonin so much back then that when I stopped taking it altogether, I had a very difficult time falling asleep until I eventually, ended up getting good consistent sleep without the melatonin. So be careful with that. That's just kind of my FYI to you guys about that. Use it every now and then. Don't make it an everyday habit type of thing. And thanks to everything that I've mentioned inside of this video, now I look like this, right? In these pictures, I'm around 225. Right now I'm on a cutting phase, so I weigh around 220-ish last time I checked. So I'm around that. Lost 5 solid pounds. Hopefully it's fat, because I mean, I don't feel like I look any smaller, but I definitely feel a lot better. My cardiovascular health feels a lot better now. I can actually run for 2.5 miles without feeling completely dead, right? Feeling like death. So really, the purpose of my cutting phase, just for those who are interested, I know this is not pertaining to the video topic at all whatsoever, but just for those who are interested, the reason why I'm, my cutting phase, the reason why I'm on it right now is just purely because of health reasons, not because I want to be super shredded or anything. Like, sure, that's going to be a byproduct, right? I mean, I'm not going to end up super shredded, but I just want to lean down enough where you can see my abs, you can see the definition of my muscles, right? And overall, just feel good, right? Feel like I'm able to not run out of breath easily. Feel like I can keep up with runs and that sort of stuff. So it's really just for health purposes, because I have no aspirations to hop on a bodybuilding stage or anything like that. I don't really give a shit about that. I'm just someone who enjoys just training in general, and someone who enjoys pushing myself to, pushing beyond my limits pretty much. So that's why I'm on this little cutting phase, and it's also been a while as well, because I've been bulking for a while, and so I need to give my body a break from just eating so much food, and actually just get down in weight, readjust, and if I want to bulk down the road again, then I'm able to do so a lot more efficiently. I definitely hit the food a lot more harder as well, and I'm sure I'll pack on even more weight, even more muscle whenever if I decide to get to that point again, because I'm not sure if I even want to bulk again, because I'm not someone who's looking to hop on stage or anything like that. I'm just someone who loves health and fitness, and who loves to share these videos, these educational videos with you guys out there. But thanks to everything that I've done, or that I've mentioned up until this point inside of this video, now I look like this, right? This 225 in both of these pictures. I was actually in Peru in this one, so I ate a lot more food than I should have. I was probably eating way above my maintenance calories, let's just say that. So I look a little bit fuller in this. Even my fucking shoulder, dude. Look at my shoulders. It looks fuller in this picture compared to this one, just because I probably was eating a lot more food here. Definitely was. But typically this is what I would look like. So decent, right? Decent. Still a lot of more work to do, but decent physique. Opposed to the 3 pictures that I showed you back then, right? Where I was doing everything incorrectly and not being consistent. So, bonus tip, be motherfucking consistent. Do not just half-ass the 3 pillars of fitness. And for those wondering, the 3 pillars of fitness are training, nutrition, rest, and recovery, right? Be consistent with all 3 of them. Don't just be consistent with your training and neglect the other 2 parts. You need to be consistent with all 3 parts of fitness, right? Because if you're consistent with only 1 out of the 3 parts of fitness, you're going to get minimal results, much like I did within those first 3 pictures that I showed you guys. And so if you really want to maximize gains and if you really just want to maximize gains and muscle growth, then you need to be consistent with all 3 pillars of fitness, right? Don't just half-ass 1 out of the 3 things of fitness or 2 out of the 3 pillars of fitness. You need to be consistent with all three parts of fitness, right? Just not one or two of them. So be consistent, find your reason why, hold on to it, because that's what's going to help you be super consistent with this fitness journey. But that concludes it for today's video, guys. Definitely a little bit of a longer one, but I sincerely hope that you got a lot of value from this, and I sincerely hope that if you are a skinny or thin guy, that you implement what you're learning inside of here, so this way you can go ahead and just, apply it, be consistent with it, most importantly, and get your own results. If there is something in specific that you all want to see in terms of a video idea, let me know. Comment it down below. And as far as one-to-one coaching, for those that are interested in it, the link for that will be down below as well in the description, so feel free to check that out. But until the next one, guys, take care. Much love to you all. Peace.